Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So for this video, I want to go over our LED projector lineup. It's been a little while since I've done output shots, or I've kind of gone over the projectors and the comparatives between each of them. It is something that I have tried a lot of different projectors. I actually have a stack of other brands and other things that I've tried that either weren't quite as good, maybe they didn't have the nice layout or the sizing or things like that. It's just, this is like the cream of the crop. These are the ones I like. These are the ones that I would put on my own cars, depending. And quite frankly, I have just about one of each of these on all of my cars, you know, collectively. I think my wife's got a pair of these, my car's got a pair of these, the Forester's got a pair of these. It's a little bit of a mix and match of all of them between three of my four cars. My truck has Alfa Rex Novas on it, which are not great for 8 projectors on the front of a car, but they look cool. So one day I'll upgrade that. But we're going to talk about these right now. So we'll start with the smallest. Very small footprint, very small light. Actually a waterproof light. You can install this externally on the car somewhere, you know, wherever. The back side as well is waterproofed. Nothing will get in there. A nice high beam projector. That is what this is. This is a high beam projector. You'll see in the output shots later on, or the photos of the output shots on the website. It is not a low beam projector. This is not suitable by itself. This is an add-on projector. So as I stated, my wife's Crosstrek and my Legacy both have a pair of these for the high beams. And then her lights being a little bit smaller, we went with these. And then my lights being a little bit bigger on the Legacy, I was able to put these in. And the combination is very nice. You flip that high beam on and yeah, you have no problem seeing down the road. Low beam also being quite good, but this being the high beam is very good. Next up is the 2.5 inch. Actually, let me go back. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. One other nice thing about this one that I do mention it on the website, but I think a lot of people probably miss it. But it does actually include a pair of demon eyes. As you can see, I got a pair of blue demon eyes, and there is a red one. So both red and blue is included in that. It's literally just an extra wire that you hook up, so you have your ground, and you'll have your main projector wire, which is the red wire, and then you have your yellow and your white, which is your different colors for the demon eye. As far as modifying them, if you were to want to maybe etch the lenses or add your own demon eyes, maybe you want to go with the color flow set, they actually just spin right off the front cover, just like so, and then you can just kind of like just pry a little bit. There's a seal in here. It's just a rubber seal, and it is reusable, but it kind of just kind of sticks to the seal a little bit. So you will have to like pry just a little bit right on the edge with like a screwdriver, and it'll pop right out. And then you can take that lens, you can etch that lens, put something on it to make it a little bit more custom in that sense, as well as if you want to add a demon eye. The way that I do that, I'll pop the lens out, and I will use a Dremel to cut. The only factor will be there are wires that go in on that side, as well as the 2 wires on that side. So when you are adding it, do keep in mind the location of the wires. Obviously, in the event that you do add demon eyes, if you're cutting on the housing, that will void the warranty for me, so please keep in mind you're going to want to test this first. Now, I have not yet had any of the projectors on this table go out on me. None. I have used this one hundreds of times. This one probably about 100 times. And this one, you know, a handful of times, maybe a dozen. This is the bad boy. This is the big one, so I don't use it a whole lot. But it is nice to have it in the wheelhouse. But between all three of them and these dozens of times. You know, there's not a whole lot of quad setups out there, so not as many miles on this one as this one, but still excellent. Still have had no problems. None of them have gone out yet, and I've been using this one particularly for about 3 years now. This one for close to 2, and this one maybe like a year and a half. This one's a little bit newer, probably pushing like 6-7 months. The laser options were a little more bulky before, and they've really got the design down now to a much smaller compact size, and that's why I'm now carrying it on the website. But collectively, between them all, no failures at all. 0. Obviously, if you were to take a Dremel or something to this to add a demon eye, which I do myself, if you do it wrong, and you cut a wire or you nick a circuit board, that's not a failure of the projector. That's, you know, so that is why the warranty will not cover. So please, 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 as with most of the stuff on the website, test it before you put it on the car. A lot of the stuff like the halos, that is covered under warranty, even if you're, you know, cutting wiring and stuff like that. But, you know, if there's a big cut mark through the middle of the halo, you know, sorry. There is a limit to what I can do for you guys. I'm sorry. But, yeah, all right. Moving on to the 2.5 inch. You can see, you know, size-wise comparatively, the 2.5 is small. It is a very small projector. But, you know, comparatively, that high beam there, that high beam projector is eensy. Very small. You can fit that easily in some very tight spaces, and you know, you get the addition of another lens that you can add etching to, or add a demon eye or something like that. You know, get that quad look that you're going for in a functional, you know, a lot of builds that I've done in the past, you use a dummy projector because you don't have a lot of room. This is one of those cases where you could actually probably use a real projector in a quad setup instead of having to go with the dummy. But back to the 2.5. The 2.5, many of you guys have tried out. The output is quite nice, as you will see. It does have, you know, the fan built in, which is the case on these 3. This one here actually does not have a fan. Doesn't really need it. Seems like the heat dissipation on it is pretty darn good. But yeah, there is a fan on it, and there is a separate driver for that as well. So this is an external driver that will run this as one of the drawbacks to it, but it is a very small 2.5 inch projector. Output wise, I would put it on par with like a Mini H1 HID kit. It is a very good output. It is LED. So, you know, collectively speaking, versus an HID setup, this is a lot less to it. Cost-wise, it's pretty darn affordable comparatively to higher-end HID. You know, maybe an Acme kit or something would be around where you're going to be paying for this. And, you know, Morimoto or something like that, you're going to be going up. But, you know, output is great. Output is very good on it. This is my go-to projector for most of my builds, and it's mainly because of the size and cost. It is very cost effective. The output is very good, as you will see later on in this video, and the size is excellent. It fits very well. Easily 4 screws to remove the lens cover, and the lens just pops out, and you can etch whatever design you want on that lens, put it right back on, and you're good to go. I do have a video going over like demon eye install, because it is a little bit different. It's not a standard Mini H1 because the reflector bowl does actually protrude up into the lens area, but I do install demon eyes on these very frequently. I mean, I would say almost every build that I do, and I don't have any issues. It's very easy to put them on there. I just drill a little hole right in the top of the reflector to screw in the demon eye and remove the brackets, and I don't have any issues. So, gives you an idea of what to expect with that one, and obviously size-wise. Then we move up to the 3-inch. So obviously you're you know, upgrading the optics. As anybody that's familiar with projectors in general, things from like Morimoto, like the Mini D2S and the Mini H1, I think is probably one of the most common for most people. Obviously moving up to 3-inch optics, you're going to have better output. It is a little bit bigger in overall length, and the lengths are on the website if you are, you know, curious comparatively speaking. It is a little bit longer. and a little bit bigger, but the driver is built inside. There's nothing extra in there. There is a fan. The lens is removable. It is with a star pattern versus this is a Phillips, so a little bit of different removal system for the lens itself. But the lens can pop out of the lens holder, and you can easily etch it if you need to. This is a bi-LED, this is bi-LED, this is bi-LED, and all that basically means is you have both a high and low function on these. So this one is the same LED for both high and low with a flapper that moves, that actuates to apply the cutoff or remove that cutoff shield out of the way for better output. This one does it a little bit differently. There is actually a second laser, or LED, not laser, LED, second LED that will turn on as in addition to the flapper opening, and that does increase the output for the high beam on this from what you would on this. So the hot spot here, it's going to be about the same, and we'll get a real reading tonight, well, after this video. Go out and get a real reading on that. But from what I've seen in testing in the past, the output is about the same at the hot spot for both high and low. The difference being that when you turn on the high beam, it opens that beam up. Whereas at this one, when you activate that high beam, it opens up and amplifies with that extra LED that kicks in. There are different wattage ratings versus the high and low on this one. I should have wrote that down. I'm sorry. It's on the website. I'll probably list it up here at the bottom of the screen or something as far as what the ratings are on all of these. But it is a very, very nice 3-inch projector. This one here is, I mean, it's the number 2. This is for the people that want stupid stuff. These are the realistic stuff. This is what I usually put on builds. I'd say like 80% of them are this projector here. If we can do a quad setup, this combo is great. And this is for the ones that want a little bit more. If you want a little bit more, my Legacy, as I said, has, well, this one. But the 3-inch is going to outperform a 2.5. This is just pretty much the case in any, projector setup. So it depends what you're running, what you're dealing with. These are great. Definitely not worth discounting. This is a step up for sure, as we will see at the end of this video. And there are some other nice features to it. As I said, there is no driver to have to worry about hiding somewhere within the light or possibly even externally. But with this one here, it is built in, so none of that to worry about. There is, of course, the high and low, and it is sensitive. So in this case, your black is your low beam ground, your red is your high beam power, low beam power, and then your blue is your low beam power, and white is low beam ground. So you do have to get that right. On this one here, it is actually not sensitive. So your low beam will be red power, black ground. High beam does not matter. High beam is just an actuator because there is no actual extra LED like we do have on this one. So it does not matter which one goes to which. Either one can go high, either one can go low, but one goes to high, one goes to low. You just make sure you do it that way. This one also has a removable base, so it does have a threaded shaft, which is a nice part. There are some lights where a threaded shaft comes in very handy. If it's a very large light, maybe a Tacoma or something like that, where you have a lot of room, this can easily go in, fill in nicely, and you don't have to use the install tools or things like that, nut and bolt methods, stuff like that, which, little plug, we do have a tool that will help make that a lot easier for the 3-inch, the Mini D2S bolt pattern styles. Unfortunately, the tool does not work with the 2.5s, but that is available on the website if you are wanting to go nut and bolt. But if you aren't, we do have the threaded shaft here, as well as hardware is included with all the ones with threaded shafts, which would be these 3. But this is removable, which is nice. So if you want to shorten this up, maybe you don't quite have enough room. There's just 4 screws that hold it on, and this will slide right off, and that way you get that extra spacing for the back of the housing or whatever you're dealing with. So once you remove that shaft, comparatively speaking, it's actually pretty close to the length of this one. Now, little trick that I have done on this one, if you're dealing with something small, like Jeep Grand Cherokees, I'm not great with the letters on these. I think it's the XJ, but it's the one where you have like just no spacing. The back of the headlight hits the frame of the truck, and there's just no room. You can actually cut the shaft off right here to make that fit in there. Now, you got to be careful because you do have wiring going through right here. So you got to kind of like chase it around with like a Dremel cutoff wheel or something. Just be real careful. Once again, test it before you do this. Make sure it's all working. This is definitely do it at your own risk. I'm not recommending that you do it. I'm saying that it can be done, and I have done it myself. So, but you can remove that shaft and you will make this thing even smaller. So something to keep in mind if you are working on a set like that where you need as much space as possible. This is very nice for that. But on this one here, you just remove 4 screws. You can take it off. You haven't voided any warranty. You don't have to worry about anything. No Dremel, no cut tools, none of that stuff. Just comes right off, real easy. Once again, I've kind of narrowed it down to like my 3 favorites, and I've got a stack of projectors that I've tried out. These are where it's at. I like these. Coming in at the top, though, for every once in a while I get somebody to ask me, what's the best thing you got? That's what I want on my car. And this is it. This is the bad boy. So this is the laser bi-LED projector. It is 3 inches well. As you can see, there is actually a dual lens to it. So it's got the basic lens here, which is your low beam, and then also your high beam to some extent. But when you want to kick in the laser, this top extra little part here is fine-tuned part of the lens for that laser, so it just really kicks it out. You can see the laser actually runs up through here, and it sits right up in here. You can etch these lenses, but keep in mind that really any etching in general can slightly affect output. Now, it's not bad. It's never stopped me from etching. I've etched the lenses on all my stuff. I think the etching looks cool, and it's worth that minor loss in output. Now, when I say minor, it depends on the pattern. If you have an etch pattern where you're basically just etching the entire lens, it is going to affect it more than if it's a very sporadic pattern, like maybe a honeycomb or something like that, which is generally not enough etching to affect the output at a considerable amount. But this would be an example where like the backside is smooth on these, so you can apply things and etch them and all that, but you're going to affect that laser because that laser is a much smaller little section here that's amplifying that lens, so it's going to pick up that etching more so than what you would have on the others, being that it is so just fine-tuned right in that area for the output. So keep that in mind. If you're going with this, I would recommend to the customer not to do etching, because I think you are going to take away from the whole point of this, which is maximum output. But by all means, if they want these and they want them etched, you can do it. The next issue is demonize on these. Now, normally demonize you mount on the top. In this case, you do have the laser running up into the front of the lens there. There is no room to put a demon eye on top. Now, you could easily install a demon eye somewhere else on the projector. There was one that I did before for somebody. I made a bracket that actually installed it down in the bottom here. That is one way that you can get away with it. Just keeping in mind that if you do install it in the bottom, if a person is looking at it from the right angle, they're going to see the actual LED because of the concave nature of the lens and how it works. So you're not going to get quite as good of a result as you will on the other three, putting the demon eye up near the top, so keep that in mind. But as far as layout goes, this has not got a threaded shaft. It is all in one though, so you got the driver, the fan, everything, LEDs, all that is included in this package here. Nice gold anodized metal accents on it, which I thought was quite nice. This does have a separated LED setup as well, just like this one here, where you have that the low beam, and then the high beam kicks on, and you have a secondary LED that kicks in. And then you have the laser, which is at the top here, which is your, that's what really makes this one shine. It is a 5-wire setup, and the way that this works is you do have 2 grounds and 2 powers. So you got your red and black. Those are your low beam, power, and ground. Black being ground, red being your power. Then you have your standard cutoff along with that extra little LED kicker down in the bottom there. And that is your blue for power, white for ground for the high beam. Then you've got this little brown wire. So this one here, this is the laser wire. You actually have a choice if you want to hook up the laser or not, but I would argue, why would you buy these if you're not planning on doing that? Unless you have like a switch, maybe customer wants to install a switch or something so they can control it independently. That is what that extra wire is for. That wire is for the laser. So that brown wire will go to power to activate the laser on the projector. So it does give you that flexibility if you want to try to get fancy with it or something. Run a little switch to the dash or something so you can cut the lasers on and off when you want. Do keep in mind the laser will not work unless the high beam is on. So you won't be able to just kick the laser on by itself like a spotlight. If you're looking for something more like a spotlight, I would recommend checking this baby out here. But it does give you that option. All 3 of these do have built-in fans. This one is no exception. You can see it right on the back side there. The output is quite nice, and the feel is quite nice. The bolt pattern is the same. Mini D2S 3-inch style bolt pattern as what this one is. The tool that we have on the website will allow you to install this with a nut and bolt method. As I stated, output is quite good, and we will see the ultimate output between them. Honestly, you're pretty close between the 2 of these until that laser kicks in, and the laser is when you just really go up to next level stuff, and that's the reason for it. As with anything, guys, I'm never going to try to upsell you on something just for the sake of upselling you on something. Once again, like 90% of the cars, 80% of the cars, something like that I build, I use this. These are awesome. These are great. These are, like, put it on your personal build and put it on the build of the guy that swears he wants the brightest things on the sun. Between these 2. Probably this one if he's really serious. But this is an awesome go-to. It's cheap. Far cheaper than this. If I could make these cheaper, I would. These are not cheap. Those lasers, quite an upgrade. But this here is a great go-to, as we will see here in a couple minutes. But we will go ahead and switch over to the outside comparatives now. So here is our 2.5-inch, and you can see the cutoff is pretty good up to a certain point, and then it does kind of bowl out a little bit, and that is one of the downsides. Obviously the upside being the fact that it is so small of a footprint. And for the low beam we are seeing about 938, right around 930 lux. And there it is with the high beam on. High beam sees a little bit of a bump at about 970. And this is our 3-inch projector. And we are seeing the low beam peak right at the 1300 mark, just below it. There is the high beam. And when that high beam LED kicks in, we jump right up to the 1560, right around there. A nice little boost. And now moving on to our 3-inch bi-LED laser. And you see with the laser, it is right around 1180 at 25 feet. So a little bit of a step down from the 3-inch, but as soon as we turn on the actual laser itself, that's when it really starts to shine. So with the laser on high beam, you're seeing right around 3800 lux at that hot spot. This is where that 1,000-meter viewing distance of the high beam really comes in. You can see it has a nice overall range. With a pretty good cutoff. You see it trails off a little bit on the sides, so you're not likely to be blinding oncoming traffic, but dead ahead it does have a pretty straight cutoff. And last off, I did want to show off the our LED high beam. Now once again, this is a high beam, so it's much more like just a spotlight, but it is quite intense at that output point. So you can see right at that focal point of the high beam, you are getting about a 3100 roughly lux rating, which is really where it shines. If you can have a dual projector setup with one of these and the 3-inch, it'll be a pretty cheap combo that will have similar output to what the laser projector will. So now we can see a little bit more of a real world comparison. Now this is one projector. Just imagine you would have 2 of these on the average car. And I don't know the exact distance to the end of this little alleyway, but you see the 2.5 does quite well. This is one of the reasons this is our go-to. It is so small, very small package, fits in many applications without a whole lot of modifications. It is our most affordable bi-LED projector, and quite frankly, it just looks good compared to most stock options. So it is our go-to for the most part on builds, but on to the 3-inch. Moving on to the 3-inch, you can see our output range. It's quite nice, with a very nice side color to it. And once again, you know, ideally you don't want these kind of like a fog light where it's super uniform the whole way, because you are more likely to blind oncoming traffic in that case. This one effectively throws it down range. And as you see with the high beam, it does have a quite nice open top to it. Versus the 2.5-inch. It seems to really amplify that output even better when you do need a little bit extra. And here is our bi-LED laser, the 3-inch laser. You can really see where that high beam kicks on, and it just goes, almost turning that tree white. Very nice output, downrange, great low beam, and the high beam when you need it. And last up is the 2.5 high beam. And man, you can see where, you know, it is, once again, a high beam. It does really shine downrange. Up close, 25 feet to a wall, it's not really a good representation of output. The combination of this and the 2.5 is a pretty good combination, or even this and the 3-inch if you can fit it in there. So like I said, you can imagine that combination. There's the 2.5 and there's the high beam, and the output is quite good with that as a combo downrange. See that separation of the two there. Alright guys, so you've seen the numbers, you've seen the output shots, you've seen the comparatives between them. Kind of what I was expecting. I hadn't done meter readings at that spot before. Usually it was in the backyard, but that spot I kind of found that worked really well. But you know, similar output shots and comparatives to what I was seeing before. You know, the laser is stupid. The hot spot on the laser is nuts. This is the king. If money is no object, that's where it's at. This one here is a pretty beefy little guy. This thing will put out some light. Without the laser, this beats it. You know, until you kick that laser on, this has it. But this one here is just a great little projector that puts out great light. You're gonna be able to compete with almost anything stock output, you know, unless you're talking German stuff or super high-end stuff within a car trim level or something like that. In general, these are going to do great. Your customer is not likely to complain about the output of them. It does a good job. It's cheap. You can keep your costs down more so. And probably my personal reason why I generally go with this more than anything else, if that wasn't enough, it's just so small. It's so easy to fit in places. If I'm using, now that we're designing projector brackets, which, once again, if you are interested in getting a projector bracket designed for a car, reach out, let us know. We have a few already. I'm going to be working on getting more of them on the website here soon, but we got the water jet. We're ready to use it. You let us know. All we have to have you do is send in the factory projector, assuming that we don't already have the bracket for it, and we will design a bracket for it. Now, with that, these almost always will fit with minimal modifications of the actual headlight, like trimming around an area to make it fit in. Very little of that, if any, using these. When you step up to these, it generally requires a good bit more trimming. It straight up, even making the brackets for it can be problematic. So it's something to keep in mind depending on where you want to go and what you want to do. And these are going to be about the same because their basic footprint, the problematic areas are about the same, and it's just being the girth, the width right around in here is usually where the issue lies. So that is another big reason why I've gone with these so much, because they just go in so much easier because of how small they are. But we are making projector brackets, as I said. If you do want to try to get one made, you don't see it on the website for whatever car you're dealing with, hit me up, let me know. If I have it, great, I can cut you one. If not, you'll just have to send it in, and I'll design one for you that will fit your car. So definitely reach out. But, yeah, on the projectors, you've seen the outputs. You've seen how they do. They are on the website. They are in stock right now. I will not be keeping a ton of these in stock because they are a little bit on the extreme side. But I definitely try to keep the 3s, the 2.5s, and the high beams in stock, ready to go. These are the ones that I use in my own builds. These are the ones that I use on my own cars. So definitely worth checking out. Definitely worth upgrading to the Bi LED, as you've seen the output shots. Sorry I didn't get anything like an HID to compare or something like that. I've done it a lot in the past. I don't have any in stock. I didn't feel like spending, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 on a bunch of different HID setups to compare. I've done them before in some other videos. I believe I got them online, but I've definitely done it in personally to test things, and the outputs, you're in the same level with these. This is, we'll put it this way, the MLED 2.0, most of you guys are familiar with that. Morimoto themselves has compared them to their own Mini D2S HID systems. And the Mini D2S, according to Morimoto, the MLED 2.0 beats out the MLED, or the Mini D2S HID. So even they are saying that their LED projector beats them out. This keeps up with the MLED 2.0. It's a little bit less. It is a 2.5-inch projector. It's not going to be able to keep up with 3, but it's right on its heels. This beats it. The output comparatives that I did back when I had MLEDs, this beat it. Now, I haven't tried some of the other ones that they sell, like I think the UPS laser that they sell, which I would assume is going to be somewhere on the ballpark of what this is outputting. I haven't tried that one myself, so I mean, there's a ton of stuff out there. I have tried a ton of stuff. These are the ones, once again, that I've settled on. I'm not saying that there isn't anything better out there, but I have tried most of the more common things. A lot of the NHK options, not all of them, they have a ton, and when it comes down to it, these are the ones I go for. These are the ones I put on my own cars. These are the ones I put on the customers' cars. It has been mentioned to many people before and in other videos, but I'll say it again. Addressable LEDs and heat are not great. Heat in general is not great. HIDs have been known for melting plastic on housings, for breaking down the lens covers on housings faster than normal. They've been known for burning out LEDs. There is a reason there is a cutoff wire on the profile Demonize. There's a reason that I added one to our new Demonize. Projectors are a big heat factor within a headlight. Halogen bulbs create more heat than even LED projectors, but HIDs are just insane. The amount of heat that they create is extreme. I don't think any of us here want to create a set of lights that we have to take apart in a couple weeks because half of the LEDs are starting to burn out in them because of the extra heat that's being created. Nor do we want to replace a set of lights that's starting to melt because we put HID projectors in a $150 set of lights that we got on eBay. I use $150 set of lights all the time. I do the ceramic coating, and I add ventilation and things like that are normally the common complaints, and then I use Bio-LED projectors, and I don't have issues. They last for years, generally. They last quite a while, and I generally don't have an issue. Whereas with HID, well, you might not. It kind of depends on the housing. When it comes to addressable, you might not. It kind of depends on the housing. You're not guaranteed to have the issue, but, is it worth having all that extra heat in a light when, in the end, you saw what the outputs were here? There's just no real benefit to what HID does. The only downside, I will give you this, the only downside to these projectors versus HID, the bulbs are not changeable. So if a projector were to go out, it's out. You don't change a bulb on these, you don't change the LEDs, you're not going to, pop a cap off the back and change something out. HID you can. HID you're going to. Halogen you're going to. They don't last nearly as long as what these will. These projectors are rated anywhere between 40 and like 60,000 hours. I think if you were to leave one projector on for an entire year, it's like 8,000 hours. So, what are you talking, like realistically 10 years? These are the kind of projectors that are going in almost every new car on the market now. You'll notice that most new cars, especially if they have LED projectors, they don't have a cap to remove to replace a bulb if the main bulb were to burn out. They are LED. So, it's a little bit nervous. It makes you a little bit nervous to be going in that direction. But at the same point, you just keep in mind that all of the top manufacturers are doing it now. Even some cars on the lower level trims, they're starting to use LEDs now. Nobody's using HID that I know of. And halogen is still a pretty popular option, especially on the lower end level cars, or trim levels at least. But by and large, the Bi-LED, and if you're talking about BMW and things like Audi and stuff, the lasers are really starting to come in pretty good. Then you got AFS and things like that. Those headlights are on a whole other level. I don't have anything like that here, but the little matrix deals. But when it comes to these, great projectors, great output. You saw the videos, you saw the comparatives. You saw the meter readings, lux ratings, and all that stuff. I wouldn't hesitate to use these on any of my builds. And in my opinion, even if one were to burn out after 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, I think it's worth that enjoyment for that time period to pay whatever it costs to get another set put in. I don't think it's that bad. Heat-wise, I guess that's something else I should probably cover. I have had some concerns with people up north when they're talking about LED versus HID and things like that. Absolutely, HID is going to melt ice off your headlight a lot faster, and there is going to be a certain point where the weather outside of the vehicle is so cold that the LED projectors may not be able to keep up. If you are in a northern climate where ice and snow and things like that are of a big concern, I would consider going with this. And I can't guarantee you that it's going to melt the ice off your lights. I can't guarantee you that it's going to do things like what HID would, but you're not really wanting to have that much heat inside your light. I mean, it's not ideal. You're not generally, if you're in the north, unless you're like North Canada, you're probably not driving with ice on the roads 24/7. Like every time you're on the road, it's not icy. So, I think this will do well. I've used these on builds that I've done in Canada, and I haven't had people telling me about ice buildup issues. It doesn't mean it's not happening, but I haven't heard complaints about it. This one does get hotter because it is a higher wattage rating. One thing to consider with this, you do want to make sure that these are completely contained within the lights. Ideally, you don't want to have half the back end sticking out of the light or anything like that. You do want to have the lights fully closed off so that any heat that is created by these projectors is staying within the lights. The fans do an excellent job at pulling the heat from the LEDs, and that heat has to go somewhere. Well, if you're trying to keep your lights from icing over, you want it to stay in the lights, so this would help with that. It might even be a case if you're in the north. I preach a lot about adding breather patches to help with condensation. If you're really far up north where you have a lot of ice, you might want to consider not doing any breather patches. And then you can keep the heat within the lights versus all of that heat escaping and the lights trying to regulate themselves, given a certain circumstance. Now, I still do breather patches on every build that I do. And once again, the ones that do go north, I haven't heard issues about. But that would be something I would consider doing. If somebody did hit me up and said, hey, man, I'm having issues, it's icing over, it's really, really bad, I would ask, well, do you have any condensation issues? They would say no. I would say, okay, pull off the breather patches and stick some duct tape over it. It's a very simple fix that they can do after they've already got the lights, but they will go ahead and trap that heat inside instead of letting the breather patches let it vent all out. So little things to consider that you could still go with an LED projector that should work perfectly fine at keeping the heat inside, and not have to go with that HID. So, alright, this has been winded, long, but it's been a long time coming, so I didn't want to miss anything. I probably did still, but okay. So, all 4 on the website, ready to ship. This one I will be doing my best to keep in stock, but it will not be a high stock level on these. So if you do want a set and they're available, by all means grab it. But if you don't see it available, hit me up and I will let you know when the next batch is coming in. Subscribe, like, comment, all that jazz. Let's help the algorithms on YouTube here. So hopefully more people can see these videos, see the comparatives, see what's out there. And thank you guys for watching. You guys have a good one.